Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Bear Pit TV. We're joined here for another opposition preview. I'm joined by Chris from TNC, the Talk Norwich City podcast. Chris, first of all, how are you?
Uh, I'm all right. I'm all right. I've got that sort of wheels coming off the bus feeling at the moment, Elliot, has to be said. And this is the thing, opposition fans can't get that. They're like, yeah, but you're near the top and it's so easy to get there. And it's just the thing that's really actually, to be fair, Stoke fans can probably empathize with this. The expectations coming down from the Prem is like you're going to absolutely smash everyone and you're going to win like 2-3 4-0 every week. But I think that's just not the Championship reality. And actually the very much the Premier League hangover has kicked in now. It was a slow start. Then we went on this 10-game unbeaten run, which was incredible, the majority of which were wins. Norwich fans are starting to warm. But I have to admit, Elliot, that the mood in the Norwich camp at the moment is fragile. I think is a word that's being bandied around a lot. The gaffer's not got the full support of the fan base, so that's causing some challenges, shall we say?
Yeah. So that's interesting because one of my questions was going to be from an outside perspective. Norwich have always been a club that's a bit of a yo-yo club. They'll do amazing in the Championship, get to the Premier League, will barely scrape 20 points, come back down again. Is that still the case, or are we seeing a different Norwich that will stay in the Championship longer than usual now?
Cool, that's difficult. My heart says, oh no, we'll be all right. We'll bounce back up again in those top two spots. But my head says, this is a different Norwich now. I think the majority of football fans will know, Norwich City's story, I guess, in the last few seasons regarding Stuart Webber coming in as sporting director, Daniel Farke ball, and going up to the Premier League, and that double sort of bounce down and up again to the Premier League. And it was glorious in the Championship, but it was embarrassing in the Premier League. Yes, we got some big wins the first time around, Man City at home, for example, beating them 3-2 with 9 players out injured. But apart from that, the Premier League it's been dismal. So what that means, Elliot, is when you've been knocked down once, it's sort of like you can understand that, yeah, you can bounce back once, like you can do that. Then when it gets to the second time, you're like, cool, blimey, hang on a minute. Like you've done well there to do it
Yeah.
twice. That's mad. But then I think what people don't realize is that when it happens for the third time, you're like, oh God, like what do we do differently now? And I think in hiring Dean Smith, they've gone for a different style of what I would say coach. So he is more steady, and I don't think he does go for this flamboyant, flary, creative, possession-based football, but like personally, my opinion isn't. I don't think my opinion is particularly popular amongst the fan base. And this is like, I don't care this season, Elliot. Like, I just want to win football matches. Like, I want to do a Stoke. I want to shithouse the way through the league and be in and amongst it by the end of it. I really do. I don't care if we win 1-0 and it's a deflection off Kenny McLean's arse and it goes in the back of the net. I'll take it all day long. But unfortunately, yeah, the other Norwich fans don't. The large majority of Norwich fans, as I say, expect to just blow it away. And that's probably what opposition fans are thinking as well. I think the other challenge that we've got, sorry to ramble on here, Elliot, the other challenge...
Right, just keep going.
The other challenge that opposition fans need to realise is, and I really don't mean this in an arrogant way, when someone comes down from the Premier League, it's like, oh yeah, they got relegated last season. They're like the big boys. We want to try and impress our fans against them. Or yeah, imagine we get a result away at Norwich, or we win away. Like what that would do for the confidence? It almost pours more petrol on the fire to beat Norwich. And so I think all of those things combined, the Premier League hangover, the same group of players, Dean Smith's style of football, a fragile fan feeling within the fan base, and all of the teams wanting to beat us more than ever, we're finding it hard work.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine for sure. Because that's kind of like how we're, in a sense, seeing this match as like, oh, it's Norwich. It's we have a chance now to bounce back from the horrific mess at Coventry, and then now we've got a chance to put it all right. And Alex Neil's got this new way of playing that's been really good so far, but just lacking a little bit of consistency. And then you're looking at Norwich, and then you're going, yeah, perfect chance to actually make this fast sound, and we can get into a playoff push. But that's one thing I wanted to touch on as well. What are your thoughts on Alex Neil as a manager when he was at Norwich? He's come to us in very controversial circumstances, I have to say. But what did you think of him when he was at Norwich? And through that experience, what do you think he can bring to Stoke?
I knew you were going to ask that. I'm surprised you've not brought up the Bosnian Beckham yet, by the way, Mario Vrancic.
Yeah, I know. He was a good player for us, particularly in the first half of the season. But I think he's lost his legs a little bit, and now he's got Croatia.
What a bloke. Anyway, let's not talk about the Bosnian Beckham. Alex Neil. So it was actually, I found it actually quite entertaining because I was thrown between Sunderland fan channels and obviously the Stoke guys as well. I was like, is he good? Is he not? Oh, he's rubbish. Or why did he jump? Blah, blah, blah. And I think I as a Norwich fan, I admire what he did at the time when it wasn't working. We wanted him gone. It did go a little bit sour. I remember writing a piece for the paper about it, but actually on reflection, if I look back, I loved what Alex Neil created at Norwich City, which was a team full of characters and personality and no fear football. And that's a phrase I don't say lightly. I remember saying to yourself, Elliot, when he took over at Stoke, like, you only have to look at that famous Wembley win for Norwich City. When we absolutely destroyed Bournemouth, Middlesbrough. We went 2-up inside 20 minutes at Wembley, and Norwich have never won in the new Wembley. So we were just, blown away by it. And I think Alex Neil brings a lot of good leadership qualities. I think he is that classic stern Scottish gaffer that has this aura of respect, and I do actually think that's important as a gaffer. We see some head coaches, managers, gaffers trodden all over, and it doesn't last so long. And I think the only thing which intrigues me about Alex Neil at Stoke is obviously he has jumped ship at Sunderland, and he, as much as Stoke fans might not want to admit it, he had a really good thing going on there. And it almost intrigues me. And I believe there's a connection with someone high up at Stoke, isn't there, where he's wanted him for a while or something, I was told, or I've heard, or I've read. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're on the right lines there. So before we got Michael O'Neill, we were so keen on getting Alex Neil, and that was our number one target. And then we eventually got Michael. Yeah,
I think he's mates with someone in your top brass. Anyway, so it intrigues me. Obviously, Alex Neil sees it as a club that's potentially more steady. I think the thing that Sunderland fans won't want to admit is that it's very turbulent behind the scenes, right? And their fans, I don't mean this is a disrespect to Stoke, but the expectation of Sunderland fans is up here. And I think it's fair to say that the expectation of Stoke fans, given your what I would call humble beginnings in the Championship, just like Norwich City, you're kind of like, it's okay. Well, there's a bit of patience there. Whereas I think with Sunderland, it wouldn't be. So, but it does intrigue me. So what I said to the Sunderland fans when he first joined them was, that's your ticket to promotion. I don't see that with Alex Neil at Stoke straight away. I think it's going to take him a season. And that's just purely because of the different, in my polite observations, the different styles of football that you've tried to make work, even since Pulis left. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. But I definitely think you'll be in and around the playoffs with Alex Neil. And I like him. I like him as a bloke. Really nice man. I've met him, had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of times when he was at Norwich. And was a real top man. He's a real top man.
I think that just reassures the whole fan base really with that observation, because Stoke went down because we didn't have great characters in the group. That squad was so talented. If you look at like Shaqiri, Afellay, Bojan, Choupo-Moting, who's gone to so many things. So the squad didn't go down because of lack of talent. It went down because of an attitude problem. So to have someone come in and say, we're going to sort this attitude out essentially and bring in top characters, which I think we have done, but having somebody there who knows how to do that and get the best out of them is just so assuring to hear. But from the outside, I've had my outside impressions of Norwich. What are your outside impressions of Stoke under Alex Neil?
As I said, as I've sort of hinted at already, I think it's one of those ones where you're going to go through patches this season. In my honest opinion, Elliot, I think there'll be patches where you do exceptionally well. I think there'll be patches where you're like, what's going on here? Not in a necessarily negative way, but like Alex Neil will be working it out. I think if I was a Stoke fan, I'd be really intrigued at the January transfer window. Now, like I'm not necessarily like, I don't know whether you guys will do business or not, but it'll be interesting to see whether Alex Neil gets backed in January to implement, to truly start to build the team that he wants. Because obviously he left Sunderland for a reason, right? And I think one of those reasons is surely that he's going to be backed. And that was one of the things that Sunderland fans were, or that was the debate around with the Sunderland fans is, I think he thinks that he's not going to be backed, even though I think he would be in the Championship. And so if I was a Stoke fan, I think I'd be excited for that period. But my honest opinion is I think that I would be expecting a season of development, of learning. And I know football fans don't want to hear that. You want to hear glory, but I do think Alex Neil will get you in the playoffs. I do. And when I look at stuff, like I think I've seen a couple of the results and I've gone, hello, they're a team. And then I look at you losing to Coventry. And by the way, Coventry are on fire at the moment. But I think, because Coventry was so bad at Norwich, like they were literally a pub team at Norwich. And so then it made me think, oof, blimey O'Reilly, like maybe it's not going to go as high I'd originally thought, if that makes sense. So, but no, honestly, no, but best of luck to Alex Neil at Stoke. I hope it works because, as I say, I think he's a manager with a bright future. And people forget that he's still so young. And it was actually Norwich City that brought him into full-time management for the first time. So I think he's almost like a protege, which I don't think a lot of football fans sort of look at Alex Neil and think, because he's sort of like a weathered Scottish bloke, isn't he? But he is actually quite young. Yeah. And so I think you could well see like a slow and steady ascendancy back to where Stoke have been again. But, Elliot, you and I were talking off air about the challenges of football and finances and stuff. And, even if you get back to the Premier League, it's going to be a super tough job to stay up there now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think you're on the right lines again. One of the things I took from Sunderland fans was that the model of football at Stoke suits him better because the managers have full control. Whereas at Sunderland, I think if you've watched the documentary, then you'll know that the managers don't have full control on transfers and things like this. Because I think one of the gaffer who was there at the time said, "Oh yeah, thanks for selling Josh Maggio," like in a sort of sarcastic way. He said, "Oh, we haven't. His agent's done all this and things like that." So I can see why he wanted to join Stoke because I know Stoke's model is that the managers have complete full control and there's no sort of directors of football and things like this, which he doesn't really like. So I think it's a perfect fit for both sides, which is a great thing to hear. And we're seeing that at the moment with our performances. Coventry played well for the first half, they scored within 5 minutes of the second half, and we just want to cross off really. But anyway, so back to Norwich. How the Norwich play at the moment? Because I've never seen Norwich and gone, that's how they play. That's their identity. Whereas I've seen Stoke.
Don't know. Mate, we don't know either. And that's like why fans are a bit pissed off is like there's a lot of Norwich fans that are all in on this. We don't have a style of play thing. And like, I can't sit here and tell you the style of play. I can't. And, I'd sort of, not just myself and my colleague on Talk Norwich City, Jack Reeve, also, we were saying, well, Dean Smith's style of play is winning. That's just what he does. He just wins. But actually what we're realizing now is that he's trying to get a tune out of a lot of players that had been absolutely shot of confidence in the Premier League. He's trying to play a system that complements the Championship's top goal scorer in Josh Sargent, yet accommodates for Timu Pukki, who is a club legend and also can absolutely destroy the Championship. And you might be thinking, Stoke fans will be watching this going, hang on a minute, blooming heck, what a partnership that is. But you know what? It's really tough to get them to both work. And so, like, honestly, I don't know the system. I think my observations are we are trying to get forwards faster now. So I think that we are trying to use counterattacks a hell of a lot more than we used to. We used to wear teams out. Like, you'll remember when we had Daniel Farke, we used to wear teams out, keep possession, and even if it was around our backline, Elliot, we would just keep it. We just keep it. We just keep it and 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 stretch the opposition from left to right. And then we'd find that space with Emi Buendia, Timu Pukki, bang, goal, game over. Unfortunately, now that is just not the case. We're trying to get forwards faster, and we don't have, in my opinion, we don't have the personnel to do that. So yeah, he's trying all sorts. But at the moment, Elliot, honestly, going to this game, he's and obviously we're filming prior to our game away at Burnley. So a lot will depend on that. If we manage to get a win at Burnley, then if I was a Stoke fan, I would be worried. But if we lose against Burnley, don't worry. It's a comfortable 3 points. Because at the moment, Dean Smith is trying to start a car that's broken down, and he keeps trying to start it, and it's not working. We just can't start it. He's tried the AA, they haven't turned up. He's tried the RAC, they've bought the wrong tools. He's tried to get someone to tow it, and they can't tow it. He's trying to jump. Honestly, mate, he's trying everything at the moment. So I can't answer that question. I'm so sorry. I don't know how we play.
Yeah, I was going to ask you sort of then from there, how would that fare against an Alex Neil team? But then you kind of seem to have answered that already, really, in that the high press system of Stoke.
I don't know. And obviously, before, and I was thinking that I would have established an answer for that, because of course when you guys stole Alex Neil from Sunderland, I'm saying stole, I thought the Norwich were going to play them that day, right? And then he had his match program notes in the Sunderland program, and of course he was at Stoke. So I don't know how it will fare against an Alex Neil side. I think, and I think I do wonder. I personally think we will play better at your place than we will at Carrow Road. I think you'll see Alex Neil Stoke. You'll have more possession. I don't think we're confident at home at the moment. I think just because of the fan feeling, whereas away from home, the away fans are fantastic and will be like purely backing the boys, and I think the players play with more freedom. Whereas at home, I think it's a bit fragile at the moment. So I don't have an answer for that. I'm a rubbish guest, Elliot. You should have got someone else. I can't give you any answers.
No, I think that more or less that's actually quite good, because it just sums up where Norwich are at the moment, that a lot of the fans kind of going, oh, I don't have answers for this. And it kind of just reflects the whole mood around the place. The Stoke are kind of, we're watching this going, come on, we've got a team that's deflated here.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things like, and I think actually there are some similarities between Stoke and Norwich, actually, in the sense of, like, obviously you guys sustained a much more successful Premier League era than Norwich City. Although you didn't finish third one year, did you? I'll just put that in there. But no, I don't know, man. I think Stoke and Norwich are both dealing with high fan expectations, and there's a massive, what I would call recency bias as well, right? Where there'll be Stoke fans coming through the ranks now, where all they've ever seen is Premier League football, and now they're in the Championship. It's like, and obviously the ascendancy of social media and everything, and like it's just a bit shit, isn't it, really? Like, honestly, being a Norwich fan at the moment is like, I've had like a cold hard awakening into the state of football, and we haven't got time to talk about that today, but I feel like clubs like Stoke and Norwich are really going to feel that now. Like, obviously there's clubs worse off than us, but as I said already, I think it's so tough to not only get out the Championship, but when you're in the Premier League, look at Nottingham Forest, for example. They've put all their chips on red, and I'm not sure it's going to come in.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so I look at like Alex Neil in the Premier League. It didn't quite work out for him in the Premier League with Norwich because we had all of these championship characters, personalities, talents. And when it got to the Premier League, we just couldn't take that step up because we had a squad purpose built for that, to muscle our way out of that league and through the playoffs. And I think Stoke will be the same, to be honest. I think at this stage. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I think it will be a crap game. I think it'll be a crap. Honestly, Elliot, I've changed since you last interviewed me, mate. I used to be positive. I think it'll be a crap game. I mean, I'd take a 0-0 at Stoke now. I'd take that. I'd really like a dirty, horrible draw away from home. But yeah, it all depends on how we play against Burnley.
All right. Well, I was going to say your predictions, but I think you've already answered that 0-0. I'm going to go for. I'm going to go with.
I hope. Well, I hope.
I know. But I think I'm going to go with. Considering all the stuff you've said, I was saying basically. I can see your face. You don't know, do you? But I thought we could do well to get a draw here. But listening to you, I'm thinking it could have the potential to be one of those great days where it could be like a 3-1 win or something.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I honestly, I don't have confidence in us at the moment, and I hate the fact I don't have confidence in us at the moment. But that is the reality, and that's what this sort of media is all about. It's being brutally honest about the team and getting emotional with it, right? So good luck to Stoke, but just not against Norwich. Take a draw.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for coming on. I'm sure you've delighted everyone who's watching this that we could actually get something out of this game. But
yeah, sorry, I've raised your expectations. It's all a facade, guys. It's not real. You're actually going to really struggle against us.
But yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Do make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new around here. And we will see you in the next preview after we batter Norwich 3-1. So yeah, thanks for watching.